What up, everyone? Welcome back. I wanted to talk a little bit today about my philosophy of live and let live, what that really means, and how we can use it in our lives every single day. And I'm going to kind of break that down into some hot button topics that might impact people, might not impact people, and what I feel like people should be doing with their lives and how they can kind of navigate through some of the stuff that they feel like opinionated about, but really have no leg to stand on because they don't really, that doesn't really impact their life all that much. So, live and let live is a simple concept of where, hey, look, I'm a person. I am living my life. I live the life according to the rules and principles that I have for myself. The let live portion of it is, let's just say you have someone who's a gay friend or a trans friend or someone that has a differing lifestyle than you that you have strong beliefs against. A lot of people nowadays kind of break that down and kind of push their beliefs on those people, and to the point where we kind of demonize each other. We kind of go through and like, hey, it's a sin to be gay, or you're whatever trigger words that you want to use, and it really doesn't impact your life at all. So my whole thing is, why do you care that much about other people's lives? Like that's the way that I look at it, and I think we get caught up a lot in social media and having our beliefs be put out there to where we kind of translate that into real life, and we've been braver as a society out in the real world where we take some of those beliefs and we kind of input it and kind of shun people for different lifestyles. And I think that's a big part of why this world is kind of descending the way that it is. So let's I just want to, again, a couple topics that I want to discuss. So for me, live and let live is something that I kind of implemented post-COVID. During COVID, there's a lot going on with the government, with the world, and everyone's in everyone's businesses on how they feel they should have been, mask mandates, vaccine mandates, things like that. And someone that lived in New York for as long as I did, it was one of the most strict states for lockdowns, and it's one of the most strict states for trying to get vaccine mandates passed. And for me, there wasn't a lot of data. And for some of you, I've had dialogues with some people on my timeline to where I was looking for research. Like I genuinely was looking for research for people like, hey, convince me. Tell me why this is a good thing. I'm seeing conflicting data. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and I'm trying to navigate through this, right? So I did have a dialogue with a lot of different people to where it kind of opened the book to where someone was like, this is why vaccines are good, this is why vaccines are bad. And like you have a lot of conflicting views and conflicts going on at the same time on your timeline, and you're like, whoa, now it's getting hostile to where it was tough to navigate through some of that. And a lot of people brought up some good points for and against it. And I think live and let live, like, I don't think we should be mandating that stuff like in the first place. I think people should have the ability to choose for themselves post doing research, but the research needs to be conclusive. I think it needs to be, hey, this is a risk to people with this is not a risk for people with this. And we were kind of just willy-nilly shooting from the hip during that time. And a lot of people forget that Trump, he passed what warp speed, whatever for the vaccines to be approved for, for people to use. And a lot of people on the left would talk about like, hey, this is Trump approved, I don't want to do this. And then all of a sudden, everything kind of switched up to where a lot of Democrats kind of started vouching for it, and they started kind of going on social media and getting, some people were calling it the Fauci ouchie and things like that, and people that were more right-wing, and whatever your beliefs and opinions are, I think stuff like that, where we start kind of demonizing stuff like that and giving things labels like that, that's where, I got caught up in it. I kind of felt like I had to take a side, and I didn't really call it the Fauci ouchie or anything like that, but I have said and done some things that I might not be necessarily proud of. Never violence. I will preface this by saying it was never violence. But I have been on the internet. I've sent some horrible things on the internet, and I'm sure whatever happens with this channel, some of that stuff might surface, and I will take my lumps as they come. If it's not something where I get big and things like that happen, then hey, I will be a man and admit my faults and failures, and admit that I was someone that was kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess impacted by some of what was going on then. And it feels like that during that time, we had kind of to make a choice. It was a choice where you were whether or against. There was no middle ground, and it seems like all the lockups, all people were doing is getting on social media, putting their opinions out there. So, with that being said, there was a lot of people that, the left, like the Pelosi's and the Schumers, and those people started kind of vouching for the vaccine, and a lot of people on the right started it was just a weird, right? So it started with the right being yay vaccines, and then the left was like yay vaccines, and the right was like, wait, hold up, there's not enough research. But then we got to kind of put it out there that Trump was the one that kind of torpedoed it. He kind of was the like they we it kind of just was like, here's a vaccine, it's safe and reliable, send it. Like, we're not going to do a lot of studies, we need to find a cure for this thing that's going to kill a lot of the population. And newsflash, it didn't really kill a lot of population, and there were deaths. Like, we'd be ignorant to say that there wasn't a lot of deaths. And there was a lot of side effects from people that took the vaccines. And I mean, you can look at the autopsy reports and things like that to, there's a conspiracy theory around that stuff, and I'm not going to get too much into that. But my kind of main thing was, getting back to the live and let live, like that was kind of a big piece of like kind of me stepping back post COVID and moving myself from New York into South Dakota and looking for a different life and trying to find my purpose in life and trying to find some middle ground and kind of reassess who I was as a person, until I realized like live and let live is something that it's honestly, it makes you a better human being, I think. And to kind of go deeper into it is, you're not in everyone's business. You're not posting your thoughts and opinions online. You're not being hateful or violent toward other people. I think it's a very simple yet effective way to live your life. So, I mean, if people want to go out and be gay, be gay. I have a lot of gay friends. I mean, one of my best friends here is gay. A lot of people in my community are gay, and they're some of the best, most genuine people I've ever met. And I would never say that their lifestyle is something that people need to shun because the Bible says this or the Bible says that. Like, we got to get past some of that stuff. And then some people who just think it's inhumane to be gay. Like, there are people out there. There are people that are homophobes, and I'm not saying that stuff in the world doesn't exist, but if it doesn't directly impact you, I don't think we should be putting ourselves and our opinions onto others. And then we can kind of go down that rabbit hole, right? I mean, you can go into the trans thing. I think in the early 2000s, when I was in like middle school and high school and going through and getting ready for college and being an adult, that's when the gay thing was like, it was a lot of people were closeted gay because of the way that society viewed them. And a lot of it was church related. A lot of it was lifestyle and just not accepting people's lifestyles. And then something happened where we became more accepting as a society. And then now it kind of transitioned from like homophobes and gays, and like now and there still are people out there that are resistant to it. Again, I'm not saying that stuff doesn't exist, but now we're kind of turning our attention over to like trans rights and things like that. And my whole thing on that is, I've worked with people who are trans. I have, talked to people and sold people phones and cars and things like that who are trans. And again, some of the greatest people I've ever met. There was a recent person that honestly, they might be part of this channel, and maybe one day I can have them on to have a conversation about their life, their lifestyle, and maybe change some minds about how people view trans people. But again, it's their lifestyle, it's their choice, and you might have your own opinions on it, and God knows I have. But at the end of the day, it's the content of your character that I care about. And some of the greatest people and some of the greatest relationships you can have in life, you might be dismissing because of your views and opinions on life. So again, live and let live is kind of more of a let people live their life. And if it doesn't affect you directly, Why does it matter? And if it's a lifestyle that you don't want, just leave them alone. I mean, if they're going to start getting into your spaces and becoming a threat and things like that, that's a completely different aspect on things. If they're, grooming and things like that, again, we have to kind of be consistent with our message. And I think the message on both sides are like, hey, trans people, a lot of them, I would say a good portion of them are just genuinely decent human beings who are people who are just born in the wrong body and want to become, I think, more comfortable in their skin. And the people that I've met in the trans community have been positive people that don't mean anybody harm. They're just looking to be comfortable in their skin. Again, I'm not dismissing the rest of the people out there that might be groomers and things like that and take advantage of those population of, trying to throw their influence at people. I'm not going to dismiss any of that. But again, I kind of having those life experiences and understanding that everyone has their own story and that everyone is different and it's not about who you are as a person but how you present yourself is the best way we can kind of navigate through society. And I know I'm touching on a couple of really hot button topics, but I feel like a lot of people kind of represent me and especially in the past on being super hardcore conservative, pro-Trumper, things like that. And yes, I am conservative in values, but that doesn't mean I'm not level-headed enough to kind of navigate through the let's call it bullshit and form my own opinion. I'm not going to just go right to right-wing talking points and just jump on the bandwagon and just start name calling and representing an entire community of people based off of I guess would be like a stereotype. I think that's very dangerous, and I think you need to definitely, when you're out in the world and you're out in society, everyone's got to have their guard up, especially those people in those spaces that might be feeling targeted, that have like the especially trans community people who, I mean, again, a couple bad apples don't equal the entire litter's bad or the entire batch is bad or whatever the saying is. So you're dismissing a lot of people that have good intentions, who are great with the relationships and bring value to the world and have a good worldview. They just don't feel comfortable in their skin. And I think those people are kind of put to the side because of the actions of few, because that's the hot button thing that's going on right now. Again, I might be speaking out of pocket here and trying to represent people in communities that are, I'm not trying to be their voice. I'm just trying to kind of represent my opinion on how I see the world and how I navigate through some of those relationships and how I navigate through some of the, the bullshit on social media. Because it gets dangerous to where we start labeling people as like, if this person is black, he's ghetto. If this person is gay, or you know what I'm trying to get at. Like if this person is trans, they're a groomer. Like we have to stop putting those labels on people and let their character speak for themselves. I think it's very dangerous to kind of do some of that stuff. Again, I've had a lot of people that I've had over the years that I've been friends with who they've transitioned into something different, whether it be trans, gay, whether it be, you can even go into, the person that I am today from 10 years ago is a completely different person. I've come to terms with who I am. I've come to terms with what I want to do in life, and I'm trying to start doing that by doing some of these things and getting my voice out in the world and trying to make a positive influence on people who might be misguided. And by having these dialogues and having these tougher conversations and not swaying one way or the other, and it's been called out in the comments that I have been kind of more leaning right, and my intentions here is to bring a little bit more stability behind what I want to do and kind of advocate for some of those tougher right-wing arguments that people might label me as. just to kind of clear the air, just to like, hey, this is a podcast or a TED Talk or whatever you want to call this. I don't know what this quite is yet, but this is just for me, like in my worldview and how I think we can be better people and be better to the communities around us. It's something that's been weighing heavily on my mind for a while, and it's something that I've wanted to give back to people because I have fallen for that, we'll call it divide and conquer that the government provides. I mean, you can go to a lot of different, if I wanted to, and I want to do this in the future, I just got to figure out my settings for, being able to kind of navigate through a full screen and then kind of transitioning down to a small screen so I can surf the internet and kind of give examples of things that I'm doing. And right now I'm just kind of pouring a lot of my opinions out there and how I see the world and how I want to navigate through this channel and, trying to bring some good to the world. And maybe this might spark some more people to say that, oh, this person, he's turning left or whatever, and that's fine. I can take my lumps. You can come at me with that stuff. At the end of the day, I just want to put good back out in the world and trying to navigate and try and bring peace to everybody in the world. Because, it doesn't take much to go into a social media forum and just look at all the hateful comments. And again, I do want to get into that is one thing that I want to just kind of go through, whether it be my feed, X feed, just going through some of the comments on any of the forums, and you can just see the division everywhere. It is very, very abundantly clear, and I think we need to navigate through that, scroll through some of those pages, talk about some of the stuff that we're seeing, call out the behaviors of people, talk about some of those, people put their opinion in there, and then they kind of name call, and then they trigger, like they try to put in trigger words, and they try to win the argument with name calling instead of just sticking to facts. And old-fashioned debate just doesn't exist anymore. It like a good debate is, I have a view and opinion, you have a view and opinion, we talk about them for what we feel is fact, and then maybe their minds have changed. And over the years, especially the last couple of years as I transformed myself, I listened to a lot of different worldview opinions and things like that because I was very open-minded. I wanted to understand how people navigated their life. And I'd be ignorant to think that I didn't say some things that were pretty cool to people that are in those communities before. And again, I asked their forgiveness because a lot of them are good people. And me being vulnerable and putting myself out there, I wholeheartedly admit that I was in the wrong. And I want to grow as a person and continue to go on this journey of understanding everyone in their communities and not labeling people as what they are. Or stereotypes, I guess, was what I was trying to get at, like labeling people as like whatever the stereotype is. The person who has directly impacted, my life and my worldviews have all been good people and have challenged my mindset because they know that I, being an open-minded individual, am willing to listen to their reasoning. And I think that us being closed-minded and we're so set in our views and opinions and not willing to listen to other arguments, that's how we get in trouble. And if you do have those differing opinions based off of all the fact and you still want to be some sort of hateful, closed-minded person, just stay off the internet, stay off the forums, don't interact with those people, and just go about your life and stop trying to negatively impact other people. Like the old adage of misery loves company, that's kind of what I'm alluding to. There's a lot of miserable people in this world that want to drag others down, and it's on both sides of the aisle. Again, I don't want to dismiss any left or right wing people here. I mean, you can go with people that are MAGA bad, and drag those people down. On the other side of the aisle, you have people that are like, super pro ICE, super pro, against transgender and gays and things like that. And, if both sides think they're morally good, I think both sides are morally corrupt in their worldview. And we need to come to a little bit more of a centric understanding to get back to loving thy neighbor. And again, that's what it comes down to, is just accepting people for who they are. And if you think that someone has negative behaviors and they're not someone that you vibe with, just leave them alone. If they're a threat to you, protect yourself. If they approach you and try to start stuff with you, try to de-escalate it. and try to, hey, listen, I'm sorry for whatever you're going on. I've never impacted you in any way, shape, or form. This is the first, like, I've had those encounters, right? I've been downtown Syracuse, New York. That's where I used to live. Where I've been downtown Syracuse, New York. I was bar hopping with some friends. People approached me and they were, oh, now you're walking down the wrong street. What you got for me? Like, dude, I don't know who you are, man. I got nothing for you. I'm a broke college student. I'm a broke, 22-year-old just out partying with my friends. I'm just trying to get to my car. And then they try to like strong arm you and rob you or start something, and then you try to get out of that situation. I mean, Jesus. I mean, again, being vulnerable. Me and one of my boys, I'm not going to name him on here, but we were going downtown. We went to a sketchy part of Syracuse. We were picking up some weed. And, some guy pulled out a knife, asked for the money for the weed. We never got the weed. And they ran off with our money, and more than what we brought there. So it's like more than what I meant by brought there is more what we brought for, what the weed was supposed to be for. So again, it's a learning lesson, and those are the people that I don't vibe with. I've experienced some of the negatives in society, and I just want you to kind of point out, I'm not putting any skin color out there, because there were both, people of multiple ethnicities in that group of people that kind of robbed me and my buddy. But yeah, I mean, it was, we got to stop labeling people and just start sticking to the facts and keep race and gender and people's lifestyles out of it. And if it doesn't impact you, stay away. It took me it took me a long lesson to kind of figure out what I want to do in my life and have those experiences to kind of be like, what is triggering these people? Like, I understand. I went to a rough part of the neighborhood. There are people there that are just constantly pissed off. They're just looking for some money. I mean, could it have escalated further? Sure. I'm pretty good at de-escalating confrontation. Hey, here you go. Want the money? I don't want the smoke. Here you go, dude. I just want to get out of here in my life. Have whatever you want. Like, that's kind of the approach that I had in that situation. But yeah, I think I understand why I got robbed. I understand in that situation, I put myself in that situation because New York didn't legalize marijuana, and I smoked a lot of weed back in my day. Don't get me wrong. To this day I still kind of do here and there, but I did pretty heavily, and that's went down a road of, hey, this person, they vouched for this person. I show it up, and I didn't even contact that other person. I just kind of was like, well, not to trust that person anymore, and nothing was ever said, and I just moved on. But yeah, that's, again, just sharing some of my life experiences to kind of understand the context. And I could have been pissed off. I could have retaliated. I could have tried to fight for my money. I could have did a lot of different things differently. But when it comes to those situations, I don't want to say cower. I just tend to like, hey, how do I get out of this with minimum amount of impact in my life? And in that conflict, it was just, hey, I'm not going to retaliate. Here you go. I just want to leave. And if whatever they want to do in that situation, they want to do it. They just wanted to rob me. Okay, cool, dude. Here you go. So that was one of the experiences that I had. And again, as a kid that used to be really pissed off, I actually handled that situation pretty well. I did have a lot of anger issues throughout the years. And this live and let live mantra that I've got going on really helped me kind of settle down and calm down a lot, and kind of be a little bit more centered. I grew up around a lot of angry people, and it's just kind of one of those monkey see, monkey do. Some of it was hereditary, don't get me wrong. Some of it was behaviors learned from friends. Some of it was seeing things on TV and the internet that influenced me to, hey, this is how society should act and feel and things. And like it, I very much conformed to the community of people and what the media showed me without hesitation. And it wasn't until I opened my mind, and it was honestly during COVID, again, I'm going to get back to COVID, when I kind of changed my worldview, and I wanted to understand both sides and create an argument. I mean, for a while, I was super like, and again, I'm going to get into conspiracy theory, and I think like a lot of this is a little far out there and a little bit loopy, but like that frazzle drip stuff, like I went down that rabbit hole. The Epstein stuff, I went down that rabbit hole. And that's, I mean, a lot of the stuff that is being accused by these people are super dark. And I mean, I don't wish violence on anybody, but people need to, if that's true, let's just preface this. If that's true, a lot of people need to answer for their crimes. And I don't think jail is the proper punishment. I think these people, that some of the stuff that they have performed and these acts that they've done are irredeemable. And going down those rabbit holes, I became even more pissed off, especially during that time. And then, like, that's when you start getting into vaccines, and that documentary on Epstein came out, and it was just like, it was just blow after blow to us as a society that these people in power have this much influence over us, have that they can do things like that. If this is true, and if these people are, you know, and it's not, well, the Epstein thing's not a matter of if, it's a matter of who, and the frazzle drip stuff, that's the conspiracy theory, and if that is true, that is more daunting than the Epstein stuff. That's a whole nother layer to it. And if that's any of that's true, I think these people need to pay for their crimes in a very public fashion, and I'll leave it at that. I don't wish death on anybody, but some of the stuff that they've done is irredeemable, if true. Again, you have to preface that by saying that, because there's what's being said, your version of the truth, their version of the truth. Like, it's a lot of he said, she said, with not a lot of evidence to back it up. A lot of the evidence might be kept under lock and key from the government, because it's so, if it gets out there, that it would change the world forever. It would change the way we see people. It might create some sort of mass riot. And to be fair, people would be right to be pissed off at the elites and the people that run the world, because they're taking advantage of the system that, for the same crimes that they're doing, they're reprimanding other people and they're killing people. It's like the worst part of society. So, but going back to, COVID and all that stuff, just going down those conspiracy rabbit holes made me a more pissed off person. And it wasn't until, like, number one, what really wanted me to kind of change and move to South Dakota was the vaccine stuff. And some people in our lives were telling us to do one thing, other people in our lives were telling us to do another thing. It was very much a tug of war between, like, hey, get the vaccine, don't get the vaccine, put your mask on, don't put your mask on. If you want to get together, these are the rules you need to abide by. And it's like, whoa, why can't I make my decision? Like, why are people enforcing their beliefs on me? Why are people so up my ass about them being right, and I'm a piece of shit if I'm a, what's the other word they would use? I'm trying to kind of figure it out here. More or less just kind of being, like, they wanted to manipulate you into their worldview, and it's like, well, what about my opinion? Like, can I share my opinion with you, or are you just going to downplay it? And I felt like a lot of what my opinion was, number one, I wanted to seek the facts first to form my opinion. And a lot of it was, these are the facts, believe this. And the other side was, these are the facts, believe this. And it was, like I said, it was a tug of war for information. And I just couldn't come to, like, okay, I just got to get out of this situation. The community of people that I'm around, and the community of people in my friends, family, things like that, it was just very overwhelming. And it took a while for me to kind of, like, convince my wife to move. It wasn't something that she was keen on. And once we decided that we wanted to move, we moved to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, something where, we don't want to state tax. The prices here of everything is a little bit lower. The opportunity here was higher. It just made sense for us to be here. And now that we're here, we're honestly the happiest we've ever been in our lives. My kid has a lot of opportunity here. He's not around a lot of that negativity. I feel like we're in a safe community. As alluding to before, there was a lot of crime that was going on around the Syracuse area, and there still is a lot of crime around the Syracuse area. If you look at per capita, yeah, a lot of people might pull up the Sioux Falls stuff, and it's only a town of like 250,000 people compared to like 1.2 million in the surrounding area. So per capita, if we have like 1 or 2 crimes a year, like that's like 20 of theirs. So it's like, come on, like, let's be realistic here. But yeah, again, I'm just bullshitting numbers, but I'm just saying Syracuse is a lot bigger compared to Sioux Falls. And there's like, if there is a like home invasion here, it is like local news. It's the biggest thing in the world. But in Syracuse, a kid dies in a drive-by shooting, and it's just like, turn to page 3 to read the story. It's a very common thing, and it's so sad to see. And that's another reason that I left New York, because it became increasingly unsafe. And the more I saw around that surrounding area, it was kind of like, I don't want my kid to grow up around this. Like, I don't want to have to like take him to like a Syracuse Orange game, and then as we're walking out, some asshole tries to like, like, again, these are extreme scenarios, but I kind of let fear win in that regard. So I wanted to move somewhere less population, a little bit more safe, less state tax, more opportunity, and this is kind of the place that my wife and I kind of landed on. So that was very long-winded, but getting back to like the whole, like, I use this as an opportunity, like that move, to reinvent myself, to find my purpose in life, to, I was going back to school, I was trying to better my life, I was, looking for new opportunities. I got a job out here almost immediately, and was my dream job? No, but honestly, I'm still with that company today. They saw the potential in me. I am continuing to grow with them, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity. I'm very thankful that they've given me the opportunities that they've given me, and to kind of go along with me on this ride and take a chance on me. Again, there's more opportunity here. I mean, to be fair, the talent pool here is kind of lesser than what Syracuse is. I kind of kept hitting a lot of roadblocks, and sometimes my ambition's a little bit bigger than what I like. I get this job, and now, hey, how do I get to the next job? I don't really soak in a lot of what the job offers. But once I apply myself and understand, like, I got to kind of slow down a little bit. And once I did that, I'm like, I'm killing it at work. I have a great staff. I have, I've been around great people for a couple years now. Everybody that I've hired, everybody that's worked for me, I'm proud to say that, for the most part, I would say maybe there's one or two in there, but I'm proud to say that they were good people, and they, helped mold me into the person that I am today. There's, someone that, one of my first hires is a very challenging person to be around, and need to be the center of attention a lot. And that kind of really humbled me as like someone who's just getting into leadership at a GM level where I get to make the shots. And I've dealt with those people before, but not at a scale like, hey, this is my responsibility to fix this person directly. And that was very challenging, and that helped mold me into the leader that I was today too. So, but also I've kind of understood more people's lifestyles too. I've hired some people who've gone through some trauma in their life, and they've shared some of that trauma with me, and in doing so, it helped me understand their worldview and why they do the things that they do. And, maybe they were angry people, and I tried to help them with that anger because that's something that I struggled with myself. And I've hired people who have transitioned into, we talk about transgender. I did have someone that started off, and they transitioned to be transgender, and they went from a he to a she, and they are, one of the best employees I've had. They helped shape me who I was as a leader, and they constantly, I don't want to say challenged me in a bad way, but they challenged me in a good way, especially in their transition, is to like be a little bit more open-minded and understand what they're going through. And anytime they had something to say to me, I would listen, and listen with the intent to understand and try to help, I don't want to say navigate through their, whether it be a situation, or I try to help just understand what they're going through. And I might not have always had the best guidance, but I like to think I give sound advice in most situations, and I might be wrong, and maybe they can call me out for that. But I don't think I ever try to negatively impact anybody. And that's just, I'm going through a lot of my life experiences, and just because it's been, in Syracuse, I didn't get a lot of diversity. I didn't get a lot of people with different cultures and backgrounds. So coming here and being someone that people look up to, and I needed to kind of showcase behaviors. And again, I got into some talking points where maybe I incriminated myself a little bit in some of my worldviews, and, I'll own that. I don't think I ever went too far, but I definitely said some things that have, teetered that gray area. And, I never meant any malicious intent to anybody behind them. But I do think that I've grown as a person since having those conversations and understanding what people go through and being open-minded in those dialogues to understand what those people have to offer and why they make the choices that they make. And I guess the moral of what I'm trying to say is don't try to judge a book by its cover. Sometimes there's some people in your life who decide to make decisions that are against what your lifestyle is and against what the community you have around you is. And if you immediately dismiss those people, you're choosing to miss out on a relationship with somebody who you can better understand what people in that community go through. And I think that's something like everyone has a story, right? Some people might be hiding their stories, and some people might be ashamed of that because society deems that it's, they should be ashamed. And I think that's wrong. I think we need to let people be comfortable in their skin, and let people kind of come to terms with who they are. And we shouldn't be trying to impact those people negatively. We shouldn't be going on internet forums belittling people. And we shouldn't be calling violence toward people. We shouldn't be, if it doesn't directly impact you and they don't, I guess what, if they don't, do you any harm, then why are you so hateful toward them? Why are you so, again, I can pull up a list of people on just my internet feed, on my Facebook feed, and just kind of point out some of the negative things they say toward people and lumping a group of people together. They use anecdotal evidence to create this narrative that if one person's bad, all these people are bad. And it's just that's dangerous. And I know I kind of went off on a tangent, but again, I want you to understand, I've been where some people have been, where they've been hateful, where they've had negative life experiences, where they've, gone down these dark paths, where people, influence them to do bad things, say bad things, and it's just because that's what society dictates that you do. And I want to be the voice that kind of brings people back to the middle. Again, that's the whole point of this. I'm being vulnerable and putting myself out there and being transparent about who I was in order to kind of maybe get people to change their minds on, hey, you know what? Kyle went through the same things that I went through. This is how he went through this. This is how he navigated through this. These are the people in his life. This is why he makes the decisions he makes. And again, if I can influence one person, then this is worth it to me. And again, I have my own views and beliefs and opinions and things like that, but I'm not going to push those views and opinions and beliefs on people because their worldview might be different. Their lifestyle might be different. And, I get a little passionate when I play video games. I get a little passionate and competitive when I'm playing sports and things like that. And sometimes I say some choice words in anger, and it's never anything too outlandish. You're playing video games and, this dude's camping, what a camping, so-and-so. Well, not the N-word, just want to put that out there, but, well, camping pussy, whatever, things like that. I'm not innocent of any of that, but I do just want to kind of sympathize and empathize with people in those communities who have good intentions, who are misunderstood, who are afraid to come out and be their true selves because of the way that we act online, the way we are acting in society. Do I think a lot of that stuff should be on the forefront? I mean, that's a completely different conversation. I think that, if you want to have pride and stuff like that, we should just stay out of it. Have them people they should have their safe space to do what they want to do and be who they want to be and have their day of happiness. I don't think that's really anything negative. Like I said, as long as they don't overstep their boundaries and they're not grooming and they're not trying to do some of those, negative things that we're seeing in the media, I think that's all well and good. And that's not to say hey, what's different from their pride stuff than going over to a MAGA rally? There's a lot of hateful things that they say in there too. I don't want to say that pride. The basis of pride is people loving each other, coming together because they have similarities and they want to be prideful of who they are. And then versus like the MAGA movement, they have a lot of people there that are pretty pissed off, that are, they see the world completely different. They have a worldview that they want that Trump shares with them, and they're willing to kind of get together. And, sometimes I don't want to say it's always violent. It's not violent, but some of the stuff they say can be a little bit skewed toward the hatred side, and we need to call out those behaviors too. So, yeah. So live and let live. Yeah, let's get back to that. So now that you've heard a lot about my life experiences and why I see the world the way it is and being vulnerable, I think this is a good time to kind of get back to the message of today's video is live and let live. It's a simple yet effective way that I live my life, and anybody that I talk to on a daily basis, I want to know their story. I want to know, everyone's got a good story, and sometimes it's bullshit, and sometimes there's truth and validity, and they're interesting people, and I'd like to have a little bit more in-depth conversation with them. If some people come out and they're aggressive and they rub me the wrong way, then those are people that I try to get in and out, and I'll still try to have a dialogue with them because that's part of my job if I'm at my work, but I try to just get in, get out, have a good day, sir. Hope your day gets better. I mean, what else can you do? Again, misery loves company, so if someone's having a bad day, they see the world view differently than you do, they always try to drag you down with them. So don't be that person that gets dragged down. Be the person that positively impacts people. Be the person that tries to get out, do good in the world, and if it doesn't directly affect you, if there's somebody in your life that is transitioning into something that that you don't approve of, I'm not saying you have to be all the way supportive, but at least ask some questions. At least try to understand why they're making that transition. And, again, you don't have to support it, but just try to have a dialogue without being hateful. Try to have some perspective and be open-minded about why they might be doing that. And don't label them as something that they're not. I think that's very dangerous. So let's end this with a positive message. The positive message on all of this is just, be good human beings. Don't be assholes. Be someone who can positively impact other people and influence people in a positive way. And, I aspire to be someone that I want to look up to. And it all starts with, how do you do that? Self-evaluate. Be self-aware of who you are. And break down, like, hey, I said this on an internet forum. Do I think this was the best thing to say in this situation? This person was being hateful. Does that give me the right to be hateful back? This person name-called. Does that give me the right to be name-calling back? Again, I've been a victim of all of this. I've been someone who's been influenced in you name the situation. The only thing I can honestly say is I've never been like a racist. I've never been someone that has, gone all hunky-dory and, called people the N-word or, said some negative things about a certain community of people. And I've never been like pro-white, just white people. Like I've always had someone in my life who, like one of my best friends growing up was an Asian guy. Another one I've had like the traditional redneck friend. I've had the Asian friend. I've had, a slew of black friends. All good people, by the way. I'd still give them all the shirts off my back if they want a place to live. You hit me up. I'd go through some names, but I want to keep things private on here. But the moral of the story is like, hey, I've said some choice words about people in other communities. I've said some choice words about people on the opposite side of politics that I disagree with. And I didn't like that person and who I was. And again, being vulnerable here, I just want to try and put good out in the world. I understand how easy it is to get worked and like kind of pulled into those different groups and to try and label people as such. And I think it's important for us to kind of get back to a more, civil discourse and understanding each other and just live and let live. So that's my TED Talk for today. So thank you, everyone, and see you next time.